Hello and welcome to today's podcast, where I thought we'd continue the theme of let's talk about being the parent of a teenager. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes it can be exhausting being a parent. You have lots of internal dialogue. Have I got this right? Why are they pushing back on me? And that guilt. And I want to speak specifically about surviving the summer holidays as a parent of a teenager and how things are constantly changing and developing every year. So we go from when they're younger, probably between the age of 0 and 12, maybe 13, where they're very happy to spend time with us, where they're very happy to hold our hands, give us a hug. Now, all young people are different, so of course, this might not be the case for you. I'm going to use my example. So Meg is an 8-year-old. I remember, so Meg came into my life when she was 6. And I remember her being always wanting to be involved with us, always wanting to sit on the sofa, see what we were doing, always wanting to hold our hands, always wanting to be part of that family unit. And then when she went to secondary school, that kind of all changed. And suddenly she disappeared. And it was like, where is Meg? Is she still okay? And she was spending more time in her room, interacting on social media with her friends. Now, this might sound like a familiar story to you. And we go through that transition and guilt straight away of, okay, am I doing the right thing? Is she okay? Do I need to have more conversations? Do I need to drag her out of her room? And all of those conversations that go with that, but also the summer holidays. So she was okay coming on summer holidays with us to a point. Probably that changed about the age of 15, I would say. Definitely after GCSEs, whereby she was becoming far more independent. She was pushing for that independence and didn't want to come on those holidays. And when she did, she spent most of the time just looking after the animals because she loves the dogs, and also quite a lot of time winding down, sleeping. And at first, it was a bit confusing because you're trying to involve her in everything and get her to be part of the family unit on holiday. And then the more research I've done around this and the more I've learned about how the teenage brain works, the more I recognise that really that was just what I wanted. And it was all about me as usual. And then, of course, you have the other weeks because we can't all take 6 to 8 weeks off, however long the summer holidays might be in your life. Then we have those other weeks whereby we feel guilty. Okay, well, I'm going to say I felt guilty. So I felt guilty, and maybe that resonates with you. I wanted to spend more time with Megan, but I also had a very time-consuming role as a hostage and crisis negotiator working on the full-time unit at Scotland Yard. So I was often dashing around the country or even the world, having to drop things at a moment's notice, trying to balance work and family life and all the things, all the emotions that go with that, all of the emotions that go with that. And I'm sure some of you can relate to that as well. So we did a webinar this week on surviving the holiday as a parent. If you'd like access to the full webinar, then please just message me at info@thecommunicationcoach.co.uk, or just go and visit my website, nikkiperfect.com. I'm fairly easy to find. Thanks, Dad, for that amazing surname. So I just thought we'd cover today some of those points. I'm not going to keep you very long. And looking at the world from a different perspective. Now, I often talk about perspective in having difficult conversations and how to manage conflict, because when we can see the world from somebody else's perspective, it makes life a lot easier. So I thought we'd have a look at, okay, well, what's going on for us as adults, as parents, as carers in these summer holidays. And we know there's like a shift in behaviour between young people and teenagers. And we know that there is going to be more push for independence. They've probably got a new set of friends, especially if they've gone to secondary school, and maybe we don't know those friends. So we're a little bit worried about that. We've got guilt perhaps about not providing that constant connection all the time, that they're in their room, that we're at work, all of those things that go on in our own heads. We're exhausted. We're navigating mood swings and sarcasm and reaction and being snapped at. And we're also exhausted from the pushing of boundaries, And so we start to feel a little bit disconnected. And I've got some news for you. This is perfectly normal for everybody. So when you look around you and you see all those parents that seem to have nailed it and are calm and look serene and are in their matching outfits and look amazing, whereby you look at yourself and you think, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, am I getting this right? That the comparison is the thief of joy. I remember one of my mentors saying that to me. And actually, when you think about it, it's true because we compare ourselves all the time and we have our own battles and our own challenges to face. We all have our own story. What's going on for the young person? Well, they are probably bored to start with. They've got a loss of routine, so they're not having that interaction with their friends. So they've got a bit of social isolation going on. There is that pressure that we put on them. Maybe this is just me, but we put on them as adults around having that perfect summer, whatever a perfect summer looks like in your head. Maybe it's spending that quality time doing loads of different things together when they actually don't want to do very much with you at all. Perhaps they've got increased pressure. Perhaps they're going into a new school year, or they're coming out of a year where they've been doing exams. And let's face it, once they go to secondary school, most of every year is focusing on the GCSEs and the exams. They've done stats, all of those pressures that they're are going on in the background. Perhaps there's even that increased anxiety. Maybe that at that stage where we're starting to ask those questions, what you're going to do next, what you're going to do next, what you're going to do next. And they feel that they have to live into our expectations. And so that's what's going on for them. And I'm wondering, what do they actually need? What do they actually need? Is it rest? So if there's any teenagers listening to this, perhaps you're saying, yes, that is exactly what I need, Nick. I need some rest. Certainly with Megan, she slept a lot. And now I know it's because she was absolutely exhausted from being at school and the pressures that came with being at school and all those exam years. They want independence, we know that. They want purpose. We know that human beings thrive when they have a purpose, and sometimes they're probably at a stage where they can't see what that purpose is. Think about your own life where you didn't have a purpose, and was there a difference between living into the purpose and living but not having a purpose? I'll leave that for you to work out. Do they want adventure? Do they just need some routine? Even if it's a simple little routine around, let's have dinner together at 6 o'clock. It doesn't have to be big. So then we looked at having better conversations and showing the young person in our life that we see the world from their perspective. Because a lot of the time we argue throughout the summer. We argue about screen time, we argue about bedtime, we argue about could you do some chores whilst you're off? We argue about going out, friends, family activities, or there's a family barbecue. Aunt Mary wants us all to go, and actually a young person in your life doesn't want to go because it's just going to be adults who they don't really have anything in common with, and they feel like they're going to get asked the same questions, which then feels like an interrogation, and so on and so forth. So what can we actually do? So I've been talking about this a lot this week, is listen before you solve and ask a question. So rather than giving your opinion, which we're very good at doing, just press the big pause button and ask a question, especially tell me a little bit more about that, or tell me more about that. Or you sound frustrated, tell me what's making you so frustrated. And that's a big, wide question that will open up the conversation. And the reason it does that, for those of you that like the science, is it comes from Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, probably comes before that as well. But it's a non-conflict question which shows you're listening from the perspective of understanding and not trying to just give your opinion and problem solve, which we do a lot, especially as parents. Get curious. Instead of just reacting, get curious about what's going on for them. If somebody is into gaming in your life, what is it about that game that they find so interesting? Because we might just say, well, you're just wasting your life. You're just sat in front of a computer. That might be their social time. That might be the way that they relax. That might be the way that they rest after a busy term. And number 3 is pick your battles. Choose your battles wisely. And you might be saying, well, how do I not react? And I talk about this a lot, about the 90-second rule, about buying yourself some time so that you can get your emotional brain back to the logical side. And sometimes buying yourself some time will just mean walking away. I have walked away from many conversations with Meg where I don't agree with her, where I get a reaction, where I get a pushback, I get sarcasm, and it would be easy for me to react, but I also know that will cause massive conflict. So it's about becoming self-aware of, am I likely to react in this circumstance? And if I am, what can I do to stop reacting? Because we know when we have conversations in times of peace, in times of calm, when our young person isn't in the red zone and we're not in the red zone, because otherwise you've got two dysregulated people and the conversation doesn't go very well. Whether you're an adult, a child, or a young person, it never goes very well when we have two dysregulated people. So let's be the one that walks away. Let's be the one that presses the big pause button. And we can just say something when we walk away from that conversation, like, let's come back to this. I love you. And just walk away. No lecture, no 30 minutes of why I'm right, why you're wrong. Let's just walk away from it. And also, we can give the power of because. So, because is when we share a reason why something should or shouldn't happen, and it makes it logical. What often happens, especially around screen time, is we talk to our young people about not being on TikTok, not just scrolling, what a waste of time that is. You're just being sucked into it. And then sometimes, and I'm just as guilty as anybody else, sometimes they look up and there I am scrolling on Facebook. And sometimes I go, I've just lost an hour and a half of my life. What have I been doing? So observational learning is key in young people, and they will do what they see. So let's be mindful of that and aware of that as well. And sometimes we might just say, actually, I'd like you not to have so much time on TikTok because, and then we give them a reason. They might not agree with it, but they're more likely to understand it when we give them a reason. How can we keep that relationship through the summer? How can we get to September when schools are back open? Hurrah, said all the parents. Some of the teachers who are also parents are struggling with that. And that's another minefield, I should imagine. Not having been a teacher, but having worked with many teachers, you do the thing in school, you work really hard during the term. That comes with a balance with your own young people in your life. And then, of course, you go through the holidays and you're probably already thinking about the new term. And then there's pressure on you around what do people think, perhaps, and all of those extra things that go. So, what can you actually do to strengthen the relationship? So, here are just 3 quick tips that we'll go through. We talked about not reacting to everything. So, find a way of buying yourself some time. Have more fun. I don't know about you. I don't know about you, but as an adult, sometimes I have forgotten how to have fun. Now, I know that there's lots of people out there who are really good at this, who are really good at just having fun and not being an adult anymore, but being a young child and doing stuff. Your teenager might look at you and actually go, "What are you doing?" They might also just have that connection. Perhaps do something 15 minutes a week with your young person in life that they really want to do. And that could be as simple as learning about Minecraft, whatever it is that they're doing, or just sitting and being together, going for a walk together, but schedule it in. Schedule it in so it's in your diary, but also that the young person knows that that's what's going to happen rather than just going, come on, let's go for a walk. It's a beautiful day. The young person's like, well, I'm not prepared for this. I'm already doing stuff. I'm talking to my friends, whatever it might be. So have more fun and schedule that connection, whether it is literally an afternoon out, a chat, 15 minutes, whatever it is, and do it in times of peace, not where we're in the red zone. And the other thing is, and this is the irony because my surname's perfect, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It really doesn't have to be perfect. If you think back to your own childhood, you'll remember those summers with fondness because we all look back through rose-tinted glasses about how incredible it was. But some of us might not do, of course. Some of you might look back and go, actually, it was the worst. It was a nightmare. I hate the summer holidays. It doesn't have to be perfect. Start small. And when your teenager wants to talk to you, thank you, sister, for this advice because it's so true. And I've said this before and I'll keep on saying it. But when your teenager wants to talk, drop everything and talk to them, even if it's super inconvenient, because that allows them to have that safe space where they know that they are always important and that they can talk to you about anything. Enjoy the summer as much as you can. I hope that has been useful and helpful. As I say, it's just a quick podcast this week just to help you get through that summer. I keep sending out tips, so if you don't follow me, please follow me at Nikki Comms Coach or Nikki Perfect. And of course, next May, the 15th of May 2027, we're going to be holding a positive parenting summit. If you'd like to know more about that, if you just go to Instagram, follow us at Positive Parenting Summit, and we'll be sending more information about that. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Please send this to anybody who you think might find it useful, and look after yourselves and each other.